you want to mock an API that you are already using. In this case, I have a collection which is already using an API. This is an API called cat API. This API is just for fun, but it allows you to test APIs. So for example, here we have an environment already set with this cat API environment with a variable that points to that API. And then we have here cat random image. This endpoint is going to return you a random image. This one is going to return you 10 random images. And this one is going to return one image by ID. We pass the ID. Okay, so imagine this is your API that you're using and you want to mock it. So one way to do that is we select one endpoint, create the request, and then go here in the three dots and add an example. What it is going to do is save that response in this example. We do the same for the next one and for the next one. Now every endpoint has one example saved. So what we have to do now is go here to mock servers and we just create a mock server. By doing this, we select an existing collection, because here you can create your own. We will do that too. Here, an existing collection. Select the cat API collection that we have before, or whenever collection that you already have that is working, but remember to save the examples. Click on that, give it a name, cat API mock. And in this case, I select no environment, but I click on save the mock server URL as a new environment variable. So it's going to save that as an environment for you to use, which is going to make things a lot easier. You don't need to edit this. This is for like particular network scenarios. And in most cases, you don't need either a private server. So from here, you click on create mock server and boom, it's done. Now Postman returns you this URL here, which is the one you're going to use for your mock. And if we go back here to collections, we can see here that we have an environment called cat API mock. If we check the environment, we see that here we have the URL of the mock server. So now, for example, we have this example here. If we click on this, we are going to get this output, this response. Well, to prove that we are actually using the mock server, let's change this 450 by 555, for example, and save. Remember to save. Now we go back here, and remember we got the cat API mock environment selected, then send, and we have a 555 response here. That means that we are actually not querying the cat API, we are querying our mock server, and we are saving the responses that we want. In the mock server, you can change everything. You can change the headers, you can change the content that is going to be returned, and you can also change the status code that is going to be returned. We have also the possibility of sending dynamic values. For example, here we have this ID. Let's say that we want to send something different every time. So we can create a variable here in the example and say like, for example, cat ID. And then we here also change it to cat ID. If we do this, it means that every time we send here any kind of ID, it's going to return that value inside the chain, which could be very useful. Another thing to take into consideration here, for example, we have the random 10 images. So we have a limit of 10. If we send this, we're going to get this response is what we have here in the example, but it doesn't really matter. If we change this to 11, for example, we are still going to get that. If we actually even remove the number altogether, we still get that. So the reason that happens is that there is a matching algorithm used by Postman Mock Servers, linked below. Here's the documentation. So you go through that so you can have an idea of what you are going to get in response based on the content in the endpoint. Now let's say that we want to add another request that we didn't have previously in the collection. What we can do is just first go here in the collection, we add a new request. Let's say that this is going to be to create a new cat. It's going to be post, and actually about the body of this payload. In a real scenario, you probably will pass a body here. But in this case, we don't care because anyway, the mock server is going just to see that it's going to be a post and that particular URL. So we don't have to worry about that. To make it simple, let's copy this URL and we just remove this part here. Now, in order to create the example, we can just duplicate the previous example that is there. So we make sure that also the header is going to be the same that we had before. Change the name. For example, here it would be create cat. We make this a post one. And here for the body, for example, we want to return simply just this as a success. We just go here, make the request, and we get our post as return. We can also go here, for example, and change and say at this time I want to get a 404 not found. So if I save this, go again, execute, we are still going to get the same response in the body, but as you can see here is 404. So actually we can create different kind of scenarios for our mock server. Now let's create a mock server from scratch. Imagine that you don't have a collection before. So you go to mock servers, click on the plus sign, and here create a new collection. So here we can select the different methods that we want. Here we can put the endpoint, for example, version 1, search similar to the other one, the response code, and also we can add here the body. Once we added all the ones, remember that you can change this later, so it's not that important that you keep it perfect at the first time. Go to next, and here you give a new name for the mock server. And again, I would suggest you just create an environment so it's going to add the URL variable for you, otherwise you can do it yourself. Then create mock server, and you're done. Here you have a URL with your new mock server, and it's also going to create here a collection for you, which is called, in this case, my mock server. It had only one request and one example with the code that we put before. And also here you have the environment created by mock server. And in the URL, you can see is the URL of the mock server before. That was a very quick introduction to Postman Mock Server to test your own APIs. Stay tuned, subscribe, and thank you for watching.